is a paradox of extremities. It is extreme in its religious, cultural, traditional, scientific and superstitious outlook. With a seeming uncontrollable ocean of humanity, India appears like a gigantic chaos on the move. This is because of the sea of people that meet your eye wherever you look. The first thing noticeable about India is that there are a lot of people, lots of them moving in all directions. Then there are the cars and the never-ending honking on streets filled with beggars and pestering poor children. But the apparent chaos somehow regulates itself. And when you look around, you are confronted with advanced technology and development. India is a country difficult to tell. Is it rich or poor? The unanswered question has always been whether India is a poor country with a lot of rich people, or a rich country with a lot of poor people. It seems to have everything, and yet at the same time appears to have nothing. Shashi Tharoor best describes India in his book, The Great Indian Novel, when he simply says, she is overwhelming, and overwhelming she is. Her population at 1.2 billion is second only to China, and also makes her the largest democracy in the world. Development is everywhere and can be seen in the expanse of the infrastructure. There are roads everywhere, buildings and rail tracks. It has the infrastructure any country needs. India has over 180,000 kilometers of rail lines and 4.2 million kilometers of roadways. The country, whose economy largely depends on a balance of trade, which includes great internal consumption of products produced locally, has 454 airports. It also has over 7,000 kilometers of coastline and over 14,000 kilometers of waterways. India has a labor force of 500 million and unemployment rate stands at 9.9%. And all this has come about because India has invested heavily in its education sector. The country consists of 28 states and 7 union territories. 30% live in the villages and 70% in towns and cities. About 30% of India's population live under extreme poverty. It is unbelievable that there's a stark difference between the rich and the poor. But despite all this, India is a good example to Zambia and many other African countries. And perhaps this is why many African countries are now looking to the East for help. Zambia too, as a young emerging economy, is looking for more investments from India and China. Zambia is one of the African countries which came to India to attend the 9th Confederation of Indian Industry Exim Bank Conclave on India-Africa Project Partnership, which took place in New Delhi in March this year. Vice President Guy Scott represented Zambia at the conclave.
Dr. Scott.
And I'm not going to talk about Zambia in particular. However, being the Vice President of a progressive government, a government that is known to represent much that is new, innovative and exciting for investors in Africa, I'm sure you will also want to come and hear more specifically about Zambia in our special session tomorrow afternoon. For many years, both the public and private sectors in many of our countries have been focused predominantly on the developed economies of the North, whether for our trade or innovation or for the education of our children or our preferred destinations for travel. First preference has often been towards Europe and the USA. Regional business has certainly expanded, but the influence of the North has tended to remain paramount. I might just add here that our people, our ordinary people, as usual, are way ahead of us. They've been migrating and trading and smuggling and doing all sorts of things south. It is only us, the leaders, who are still talking about it. These days, though, even this is finally changing, as decision makers in the rich but fundamentally faulty economies of the North struggle to come to terms with their own need for structural adjustment. Some sort of poetic justice there, I think. The economies of the South have been substantially less damaged.
India has invested about 45 billion United States dollars in Africa, and India's investments in Zambia stand at $3 billion. 13,000 jobs have been created over a period of 5 years. Indian firms such as Vedanta Resources, Tata, Nava Bharat and Varun Beverages, among others, already have investments in Zambia. But many feel there should be more. And India is willing to offer more help.
We have doubled the number of the scholarships. Today we have more than 50,000 students from Africa and India, but 15,000 would be on the scholarships. And in the next 3 years, there will be 22,000 more students from the great continent of Africa who will be here on India scholarship programs. We have built institutions of excellence.
मेरा दावा है फोटो पे आ जाएगी तू मसीहा मोहब्बत के मारों का है.
The Zambian delegation, which was led by Dr. Scott, took every opportunity to market Zambia.
Allow me now to outline a number of reasons why Zambia should be your preferred destination for investment. Zambia is one of the most politically stable countries in Africa since attaining independence in 1964. Zambia pursues a multi-party oriented democracy that provides a liberalized market economy in a strife-free situation. Zambia pursues a multi-party oriented democracy that provides a liberalized market economy in a strife-free multilateral society.
These are the sectors that you should be focusing on. Fertilizer and cement production, you'll be able to get those tax qualities I mentioned if you invest in fertilizer and cement production. If you invest in timber processing, process the timber into value-added wood products, again, you'll get those tax holidays. Leather processing, processing of cattle skins, cattle hides, crushed leather, wet glue, and manufacture of leather products. That's yet another priority sector. Agro-processing, the processing of agricultural products. Tourism is yet another priority sector.
I did not hear biomass mentioned in your energy priority sector, given that you are a producer of corn, and corn stover and timber byproducts are potentially the most exciting source of energy for distributed use in mines and household industries. Is there a program or an intent to have a distributed energy access incentive program in Zambia?
Thank you very much. Generation power is purely from hydro, and we've tried to diversify a little bit now, trying to go clean, and we are looking for solar. We are as well going for biomass. We've got a Chinese company which came in recently, to proceed and put up a biomass power plant. It hasn't yet been concluded, but we are requesting the people. We are hardly hit. Right now, if you look at the demand versus supply, we are very much in the short. So you can look at every now and again, there is load shedding, which is not very pleasant to the Zambian people. We need other energy sources so that you can come up into Zambia and just do that. So biomass, we are welcoming that. A few people have come in and tried to talk to us about it. Please jump so that you can beat them and jump the queue. You are very much welcome. We need any source of energy generation as long as pollution is curbed.
Harvest has been a challenge for us, mostly because only 51% is undercover, especially for the main product, which is corn or maize. So one of the areas that we're interested in doing is to ensure that there's additional investment in storage facilities, silos, as well as storage for inputs. So that is a major, the incentives are exactly what has been given above here, and as you noticed, agriculture is one of those that are priority areas. So yes, there is a tremendous opportunity for investment in post-harvest infrastructure.
तेरे दिल में थी मेरा दावा है होठों पे आ जाएगी तू मसीहा मोहब्बत के मारों का है मसीहा मसीहा मोहब्बत के मारों का है।
Dr. Scott's visit to India was a full package. He used his trip to seek for more investments in various sectors of the economy. Angelique International Limited is one of the firms Dr. Scott visited in New Delhi. And he was more preoccupied with power cuts back home and wants Angelique to consider investing in Zambia's energy sector.
A lot of people say solar, solar, renewable, renewable, but actually there's very few solar installations of any size at all, if indeed there are any. And there's very, very few hydro for that matter, because the number of situations in which there is a hydro possibility are very limited. Even in tropical Africa, where we've got the source of both the Zambezi and the Congo in Zambia. And there's sort of waterfalls here and there, but the trouble is the waterfalls never where you want the power and so forth. So I think there is a technical issue, but I think the financial one comes up, you know, the minute you start talking, you're saying, well, okay, $1 million a kilometer. For presumably that's 330 or something, is it?
Yes, sir.
High tension. Nonetheless, even in 88 or 66, I mean, we do a lot of stuff on 66 and 88. Even that must cost half of that, $300,000 kilometer. So really, I can see that there is a technical issue where we ought to go to Zambia, sit down with ZESCO, with longer term planning, and say, right, first of all, how many years are we looking at as a payback period? Because if you can't borrow the money to buy a house over more than 5 years, what period of time are you looking at to get the power for the house financed?
Deputy Minister of Energy Richard Musukwa and Minister of Gender Inonge Wina were traveling with the Vice President.
Apart from huge generation of power, we are also been looking as a ministry in terms of main power hydro in order to create synergies and increase power on the grid. So we definitely would like this level of investment in order to move our industry and even just common consumption of power to our communities, to stop the unpopular power shortages.
We have created almost 20 new districts in rural areas, and I see an opportunity there in the area of solar installation. So in the solar energy, in these new rural district centers, because we are starting almost new clusters of administrative centers in the rural areas. And I think there is an opportunity there for cooperation with a company like yours.
We are looking for a joint venture partnerships with any other companies in Zambia so that we can work on hydropower is one of the main areas where we're working in. Other than Zambia, we're working in different countries. We are looking for a joint venture with some company or with the government to put up a hydropower plant. We are doing 10 megawatt to 100 megawatts in different parts of Africa. At the moment, we are doing 6 hydropower plants in Africa.
Dr. Scott has also visited Pune, central west of India, where his team explored the possibility of setting up an information technology IT park in the Lusaka South Multi-Facility Economic Zone. Shapoorji Pallonji, Infocity, which houses IT Park, Special Economic Zone for IT and a residential area, is one of the facilities the Zambian delegation visited. The facility is sitting on 80 acres of land.
And we will be building partly residential and partly SEZ in the vacant portion of land.
Are there any education institutions in here?
Education institutions are within a span of about, say, 5 kilometers to 6 kilometers from here.
Okay.
Yeah, I had that impression, but I guess it's the workforce that's quite young. There's a slight college year when we drove, but it's...
The workforce is between the ages of 21 and 35.
You have daycare centers for the kids. That
you can have a daycare center. So, the kids. So this portion of the property has got a coffee shop, a daycare center, ATMs.
Okay. All these buildings fully occupied now?
These buildings are fully occupied.
Right. Okay.
These buildings are occupied to the extent of 80%. This building is reserved for a guest.
Do you have commitment for the upcoming building?
We have commitments for this. Yeah. We are discussing with the guest for these buildings.
Now, these buildings were built by your company and
yes.
they are owned by your company?
Yes. The land is owned by us.
So the
buildings are built.
They all pay rent to your company?
They are paying rent to us, yes.
What does the special economic zone, what does that mean within the context of India?
A special economic zone is a region where a company has a 15-year window to operate business, and for the first 5 years, there's a tax holiday. For the following 5 years, they pay 50% taxes. And for the following 5 years, if they plow back the profits, they get tax exemptions to the extent that the profit has been plowed back into the business.
Okay.
So that doesn't have to be IT, but these ones are all IT.
Madam, they're all IT.
These are, but these
this is also IT. See, a special economic zone could be a multi-purpose special economic zone, or could be an IT-specific special economic zone.
So this is IT-specific?
This is IT-specific, ma'am, yes.
And that's because those are the tenants that you're looking for, or is there something in the special about the facilities that...
See, when you apply to the government for license, you're free to choose the kind of business that you wish to enter into.
Right.
We chose to apply for an IT-specific economic zone because we saw the future of IT in Pune.
Shapoorji Pallonji Company Limited has a skilled workforce of 23,000.
I'm glad that our conclave tour included a visit to Pune here to visit an IT park which is owned by an Indian firm that has shown interest in setting up a similar park in Zambia. Under our multi-facility economic zone. It's been so impressive. It has given us a source of encouragement. If you look at the number of young persons that have been employed in this place here, clearly you agree with me that there's need for us to collaborate very strongly and very seriously and urgently with this firm so that we can see how in our multi-facility economic zone in Lusaka South, we can set up a similar park.
It's a known knowledge that our infrastructure is really in bad shape. And what we can do is to get people who can come in with financing or without financing and see if we can afford to pay so that we reinstate our infrastructure. We construct our infrastructure. When I talk about infrastructure, I'm talking about the roads, I'm talking about the railway, I'm talking about waterways, and I'm talking about communication infrastructure as well. Now, if I talk about rail, we know it's a given knowledge that the rail lines have been dilapidated for some time, such that we are now using the road network to bring in the cargo from our various ports from our bordering countries. And those trucks, they are damaging our roads.
It is the first Indian construction firm to enter the Middle East, and now the company is keen to make its presence known in Zambia.
The company would be keen to invest in infrastructure enabling management, which means construction, and development of roads, bridges, and development of power.
How much are we talking about, and how soon do we see you moving into Zambia to start working on those things?
The company is keen to invest in Zambia, and it all depends on obtaining financing. So if the project is good and if financing can be made available, I'm sure the company will be keen to begin as early as possible.
Later, Dr. Scott met the chairman of Shapoorji Pallonji in Mumbai, west of India.
We're very keen on improving your transportation system there, working with the government of India, working with the government of Zambia. I think we bring a lot onto the table there. We would be happy to build universities, hospitals, whatever is required there as far as the construction is concerned. We're happy to do that. We're happy to help Zambia in the solar field. We are the largest solar EPC contractors in the country. We can bring that into Zambia. We've already done, I think, something like 200 megawatts, which is a substantial figure. So this, as a group, we bring quite a lot onto the table.
The Chinese have cottoned on to the fact that we have only very short-term money in Zambia. Government has no long-term money. For government to try and build a hospital that you mentioned, or a university that you mentioned, on current account, taking taxes and putting it into a hospital, it's extremely difficult, because if we were to do everything that was needed, we'd need a mortgage worth billions of dollars, and interest rates that are about a fifth of what they are in Zambia internally. Interest rates are very high, 30%, 25%, and the payback periods are very fast. I mean, so I suspect the Chinese have got the hang of, and you'll see a lot of Chinese infrastructure, Chinese-built infrastructure like football stadiums. Every town you fly over, there's another new football stadium. And these are done on so-called soft loans, not really soft loans, but loans with moratoriums, long moratoria up front, low nominal interest rates, high nominal payback period.
That aside, the East has always been a land of strong culture. India is one country which has not been influenced by Western culture, and it cannot be denied that there has been some misunderstanding with investors from Asia, especially the Chinese. A Center for Southern Africa Studies has been established to help carry out research on culture between Asia and Africa. Dr. Scott officially opened the center.
Get to know Zambia a bit. I know I'm being chauvinistic. I mean, I know you're the Center for Southern African Studies, and that includes Zimbabwe, and includes Botswana. South Africa, I notice in this draft speech, has been used interchangeably with Southern Africa. Not really. South Africa is a developed country from many points of view. If you talk to a South African, and I mean a black South African for the avoidance of doubt, and you explain you come from north of the Zambezi River, he says, you come from Africa. So this is part of the cultural divide or political divide that has been brought about by wars of independence and people resisting independence and so on and so forth. Zambia was the home base for the liberation armies of 5 southern African countries: Angola, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Namibia. We hosted them all. And there's a little bit of resentment still there that we were so successful. All we did was sit back and allow people to use our country as a home base. It cost us dearly in terms of sanctions, in terms of military action from the South. Now, thank God, there is peace in Southern Africa, and it's possible to talk about an institution, I think, that studies business models in Southern Africa.
Zambia's foreign direct investment inflow from India has exceeded $3 billion from 2007 to 2012 in various sectors of the economy like mining, energy, finance, telecommunication. India's investments in Zambia, including $2.6 billion pumped by the Vedanta Resources into mining firm Konkola Copper Mines. Bharati Airtel's invested in the telecom firm Airtel Zambia, which it acquired from Zain in 2010. And Taurian Manganese, $300 million investment in a manganese processing plant in Serenge, central Zambia.
Dr. Scott's trip to India was a busy one. He also met Udaipu Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
If I was an investor wanting to do something new in Zambia, I'd be looking for where the market is, and the market is for advanced technical education. Irrespective of whether that skill is actually currently required in the Zambian economy. If it's not required in the Zambian economy, it's required in South Africa. If it's not required in South Africa, it's required in Silicon Valley. So I've been experimenting, thinking in a slightly cockeyed way. So, madam, I'm sure I've got one taker. Let's do something, even, however small, and just see whether that formula clicks.
Earlier, Dr. Scott and his wife Charlotte went to the theatre where puppets performed folk dances. Vice President also met King Maharana Mewa at Shambhu Niwas City Palace in Udaipur, but the meeting was private.
Matters of history, matters of governance, traditional systems of Zambia versus the traditional systems of India, and many such things.
Very interesting dialogue. Tried to learn as much as I possibly can. It's a wonderful country. And see and have some new ways of getting the two countries together, other than on issues of commercial nature.
Dr. Scott also met his Ugandan counterpart, Edward Kiwanuka Sokandi, while in India. Journalists also had an opportunity to interview Dr. Scott. These included journalists from Global Insights, Times of Africa, and Wall Street Journal.
The prominent sectors where investment would be fruitful for the Indian companies if they go to invest in?
I don't see any limitation on the sectors at all. I think if you take the example of the Chinese, they've worked their way into nearly every sector that there is. What's the key is the long-term financing, the long-term capital, because internally in Zambia you can't borrow money for a long time. You can't borrow it at reasonable interest rates. All my staff in the office of the Vice President would love to buy a house, but they can't get a mortgage.